Hello there, it's Maggie the Cheshire Crafter here. Today I'm going to share a craft with you using some of the items that I got as a gift for Christmas. If you remember seeing my Christmas vlogs, I was given some of this decoupage tissue, which is William Morris. And I've got a friend who's got a birthday in early February. And when I was Christmas shopping, I spotted some William Morris designed mugs in HomeSense, and I bought 2 of those, and I've got the bright idea that to go with them I'm going to create some coasters. So today I'm going to be doing decoupage with tissue, napkins, and I'm going to be using slate. So come with me, I'm in the kitchen, I'm nice and warm, and I'll see how I do it. First, I'm going to talk to you about the slate I'm going to use. Now, I bought these and I've had them in storage for about 5 years. This contains a pack of 4 and I've got 8 of these and they've survived very well. In the UK, some of the slate comes from Snowdonia, where my mum was born, and I like the link with that. So the coaster slates then are about 4-inch square, and as you can see, they've got rough edges. Very rough edges, be careful with your fingers on them. And then on the back they've got the soft felt coaster feet, so that not only do they not make a noise, but they're far less slip. Now these I bought from eBay from a company, and they was manufactured by Gogh, and in the box I've got the care instructions for the slate, and I can pass those care instructions on to you and onto the recipient when I gift these items. These from eBay came from Elegant Products UK, and I have looked at eBay UK, and if you buy them in bulk you can get 12 of them delivered to your door this size. I'm not sure whether they're the same quality of this, but they cost just over £1 each, so 12 would cost £13 delivered to your door. So these are the square coasters I'm going to use, and I'm also going to use some heart shapes. This is huge. I'm going to have to put the camera back, but you can see this is a heart on string. I'm going to take the string off. I'll move the camera back when I'm doing. That's about 10 by 9 inch, that heart. That's quite a large size to take a napkin. I found that in a charity shop, and it was with this little one, which is about 2.5 inch. So this one's much easier for me to do on camera, isn't it? In Hobbycraft, they were about £8, and in January they were on sale for half price. I didn't buy any at the time, so I'm very glad that we found these in the charity shop. So first of all, I'm going to look at the coasters, and I'm going to be using both the tissue paper and napkins. But first of all, I'm going to talk to you about the glue I'm going to use, and that's going to be Mod Podge. And as you see, the Mod Podge, I bought this huge size. I bought it at half price when the craft centres were closing at the garden centres. But a big pot like that costs around about £10 if you buy it at the Range or the Works. And I bought the matte Mod Podge. You can get matte or gloss. And I decanted it into these small pots, which I did before Christmas, and these pots are the travel jars that you can buy very cheaply in Primark. So what I'm wanting with this is to get a real good, move it down a little bit, is to get a real good strawberry thief fairly central in the middle of my slate. So I'm going to put the slate on, and then I'm going to just cut round the edge larger than I want, and I've got another one here. Going to do exactly the same, and let me cut those out first, just where the pair of scissors. Before you begin, just make sure that your slate is clean and dry, that it's got no grease on it and no dust. If you need to wash it, I used washing up liquid. I didn't immerse them, I just wiped them and dried them off, or you could use some isopropyl alcohol just to spray them. And I'm actually going to do, like I did with the cards, I'm going to use the Mod Podge, you see that on camera there, and I'm going to apply it to the slate, not the tissue. and I'm going to apply a thin layer across. I want this strawberry thief, this is the design, to feature in the centre of the slate, but then I want some of the tissue to go down into the crannies that are down the sides. Now I haven't used this tissue before, so I don't know how it's going to behave, but I'm just going to do, it's about 1.5 inches at the top. I haven't gone down the sides yet. I want to get the placement correct, so I'm going to go from above and I'm going to place it exactly where I want it to sit, and then we're going to start very gently in the centre and just press it out with my fingers. I cut my fingernails recently, so my fingernails aren't going to go through the tissue. Now I can see already there is a little bit of puckering, and I can feel the graininess of the slate beneath it. I'm used to doing this with paper, aren't I? So you get a very different texture this way. I'm going to do the same as I do with my cards. I'm going to roll the tissue paper back. I'm not going to put a crease in it, and I'm going to do a little bit more. I'll probably do this in thirds or possibly in 4 sections. I want to make sure I get right up to where that previous glue was. This dries very, very quickly, so you need to work quickly with the Mod Podge. It's not absorbing into the slate, but it is going into the little nooks and crannies. Then roll down, take the brush out of my mouth, roll the tissue then down, and again use your fingers, go from the middle outwards very, very gently so that you don't push your fingers through that tissue. It's actually going on very well. Now this is quite a dark design, and I think that with a lighter design the colour of slate would show through. So it might be that if you're doing a lighter designs, we might need to put a layer of tissue on underneath. I'm not sure. I'll find out when I'm exploring this together. I've not done this before, so I'm exploring on camera. Right, that's going on really, really well. And I'm just going to the top edge, not over the edge with this. And you don't need very much Mod Podge either. So a little of Mod Podge would go a long way with this. But this is just the lower layer to stick it onto the slate. I want to make sure it's gone all the way around really, really well. No air pockets, no bubbles. Whoops, I put my finger through there. I'm going to need to patch that up. So that's very, very easy to do. Let me get a tiny piece of this. The beauty of having more tissue is that you can repair it. So you didn't see what I did there. That is so easy to do. I'm just going to do a tiny repair over the top, and it won't detract from the pattern necessarily, only if you look really, really closely. You know, and I know, but I don't think the recipient would know that that's a repair job. Now that just shows you how delicate this tissue is, so be very, very careful. I wasn't being rough. Right, I'm just going to set that one aside while I do the other one, and then I'll come back and show you what I do with the sides. When doing the sides, just lift the tissue back gently, and you will see with the slate is very, very grainy here. It's very rough. So you need more Mod Podge on the sides than you do on the top, because you need to get into all those nooks and crannies, and especially at the corner. But you don't want to get glue on the back of the coaster. The more glue that you put on, the more you're likely to rip your tissue, because you're going to get your tissue wet. So it's a bit of a juggling match. I do this one as a test piece. and I'll show you why in a minute. Now, I found it easier here just to use my finger along the edge and just push it over. So that's the length of the finger rather than the finger and thumb. And just push it. Now I can feel the edge, I can feel the corner. And let's do the other side. Same again, push the tissue back, apply the glue as far as you can up towards the paper. It doesn't matter if you get some on the paper, like I've just done there. I'm just trying to see whether I'm getting this on camera okay. I think I am. It's always difficult when you're trying to look through your camera lens as well as what you're looking at. But it is important that you see what I'm doing here. And if you've got a keen eye, you'll see that I cut this slightly too small. This test piece are going to be for me. I wouldn't give this as a gift because I added pieces on at the edge. And what I did was I added the pieces on and then I rolled the top piece over the top and over the edges and the corners. Right, now I'm going to set that aside to dry, like the other one. And what I know of Mod Podge is when it dries, it really dries very hard. If you can see, I must have just juggled a piece there. Yeah, let's leave those to one side and let them to dry. Now you can see there is a little bit of gloss on there. That comes from the tissue, not from the Mod Podge, because the tissue itself was gloss. Right, I'm going to show you what I was happy with once they'd dried. I will say that the decoupage tissues worked really well. I just used an emery board around the edge to neaten the edge on those. And I'm happy with those because the slate grey showing through doesn't really matter. And I'm now going to varnish these with this Wilko Quick Dry Clear Gloss Varnish. I've decanted some varnish from the tin into this glass jar and I've marked it, and you'll see that it is opaque. When it goes on, it dries clear. It is quick dry, but they advise to apply a thin layer and then wait 4 hours before reapplying a second layer. And I'm going to do 2 layers on this applied with a brush. So these are the finished slate coasters after 2 coats of varnish. You can see how shiny they are now, and I've coated around the sides but not on the back. All I have to do now is to wrap those, and I'm going to wrap them together with a piece of raffia ribbon. The William Morris hair does lose some colour when I've done it directly onto slate. This is tissue onto slate. But I think that's ideal. I think they're going to my brother. And then I've done some that were napkins. And I'm not going to recommend this, but I am just going to show you that you can get a slightly different finish with a double layer of napkin onto slate and then varnish. You get a more puckered matte feel, and it's a bit more grungy because some of the grey slate shows through. So let me show you what they look like, just ready, parcelled up and ready to gift. I think that that will make a really nice gift of 2 slates with a William Morris mug, and I purchased the mugs at HomeSense just before Christmas, and I know that they'll be used and appreciated by my friend. So come back for part 2 when I'm looking at applying paper napkin tissue to slate.